Hello, welcome to Heady Remarks. I'm talking about Nietzsche. Nietzsche. That's how you say it. Friedrich, probably. Nietzsche. Archie. I was saying Nietzsche, so I might still say that. German philosopher. He has a lot of cool sayings, famous sayings. He was born, what was it, 1844? Yep, 1844. He had a Lutheran upbringing. It says his mentor was Arthur Schopenhauer. I don't know if they ever actually met, though. I kind of want to know that. Did he Nietzsche ever meet Schopenhauer? Schopenhauer was a pessimist, atheist, pessimist. Well, it's not answering my question. Did they ever meet? When did he live? 1788 to 1860. I don't know how he could be his mentor if he never met him. I guess he could be. Anyway, he was... Hello, thank you, hi. Welcome. Yeah, I was watching Wednesday, so I did my hair in braids. But it's just sort of sad because I have like, look how thin they are. They're like teeny little twigs. My mom says my hair isn't thin, it's fine. Our hair is not thin, it's fine. My parents met each other and they were like, oh, you got horrible hair? We should, I won't say it. I won't say they shouldn't have procreated, but it was just, bet. Okay, moving on. Anyway, what am I doing? This is off to a horrible start. Okay, he has something called aphorisms where it's like quick, compact little quotes that are, I don't know why it's called aphorisms, but whatever, I guess. It made a lot of his books pretty easy, or like, I don't know, like, yeah, probably easier to read, just like the way they were just small, compact little quotes, aphorisms, I guess. Friedrich Nietzsche is one of history's most misinterpreted philosophers. That's another one that you hear. Everyone wants to like set the record straight when it comes to him, or you just don't understand him. Lots of rumors. Anyway, misinterpreted philosophers, and it isn't hard to understand why. Oh, and he said God is dead. That's why I named it that. God is dead, and we have killed him. I guess during that time in Germany, he was like, it was a time when people were kind of losing their religion, I guess, like the song. Okay, so it isn't hard to understand why his lengthy writings are sometimes obscure, and it isn't always clear what he's getting at. It can be easier to grasp Nietzsche's big ideas by studying his aphorisms, succinct yet insightful statements, which he intentionally penned at times. Some of his works contain sections devoted to just such sayings. The punchy format of aphorisms fit the terse, strength-focused ethos of Nietzsche's philosophy perfectly, and he explicitly said his ambition was to say in 10 sentences what others say in a whole book. The pithiness of his aphorisms shouldn't be mistaken for simplicity, however. Oh no, he's not a simple person. He liked to think really hard and a lot, and he liked to talk about like enjoying life and stuff like that, but I don't know. I guess he had some issues, but it's almost like he was desperately trying to be optimistic. The pithiness of his aphorism, Friedrich Nietzsche liked the aphorism because it wasn't one-dimensional, but could encompass layers of irony, sarcasm, and nuance, which reward the reader who goes beyond the surface to contemplate deeper meanings. Many of Nietzsche's aphorisms have become standard sayings in popular culture. What doesn't kill me makes me stronger. Yeah, a lot of them you're like, oh, he did that one? So common, has been used by football coaches to motivate players during grueling summer workouts. And I didn't mean to do this. And by Kanye West in one of his biggest hits. I don't really like that song. Many of Nietzsche's other aphorisms have been adopted by artists looking to inspire themselves to reach for bigger and bolder visions, which was part of his intent. While the philosopher's work has often been interpreted in a societal and political context, his themes on the will to power and waging war are frequently meant as metaphors for creative and intellectual struggle. Indeed, many of Nietzsche's aphorisms are designed to jostle the individual out of existential complacency. He doesn't want people to simply sleepwalk through life. You can feel Nietzsche grabbing you by the shirt collar and slapping you awake as you read his axioms. Yeah, apparently he would contradict himself quite a bit. It was like, I don't want you to follow me necessarily. I just want to get you thinking. And just seems sometimes like he just enjoyed being contrary and playing devil's advocate and arguing from multiple different angles. Many of Nietzsche's other aphorisms have been adopted by artists looking to inspire themselves to reach for bigger and bolder visions. Yeah, his whole big thing, the will to power and like becoming who you are, who you're supposed to be. This is something I printed off from the Great Courses lecture on it by Robert C. Solomon and Professor Kathleen M. Higgins. They were married. They took turns doing chapters. Married couple who like Nietzsche a lot. Which was part of his intent. While the philosopher's work has often been interpreted in a societal and political context, his themes on the will to power and oh shit, I already read that. Goddamn. Short color. Slapping you awake as you read his axioms. He wants you to live dangerously and shake off the fetters of weakness and mediocrity to reach further and higher. Below, we share a collection of some of Nietzsche's most inspiring, incisive, and insightful aphorisms. Whenever you feel like you need an existential kick in the butt, give these a read. Okay, so here's a few of them. The true man wants two things, danger and play. Archie, come here. Where are you? Where's he hiding? Oh, he went on. That's what that noise was. It's connected by Velcro. And he's a burrower. I couldn't get him to lay on. I wanted him to be right here, but he won't. Like, he seriously won't. I don't know if it's just too wobbly for him or what. I put like his soft bed thing here, but he just isn't. He doesn't like it. I don't know. Here's another one. Be careful lest in casting out your demon, you exercise the best thing in you. Yeah, he criticized Christianity a lot, or Christendom. According to these lecturer people on the Great Courses, he is relatively like not, he doesn't really go after Jesus per se. He goes after Christendom. Okay, here's another one. The secret for harvesting from existence, the greatest fruitfulness and the greatest enjoyment is to live dangerously. Here's another one. Silence is worse. All truths that are kept silent become poisonous. Where are some better ones? Obviously, there's like, oh yeah, he who fights with monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. When you gaze long into an abyss, the abyss also gazes into you. That's a good one. That's a good one. I like that one. I have often laughed at the weaklings who thought themselves good because they had no claws. Nothing on earth consumes a man more quickly than the passion of resentment. Become who you are! Do you feel it's an attack on faith or an attack on the act of faith? Do my notes say anything about that? What does he say about faith? An intellectual disdain for the Sky Daddy? Well, maybe we should get into his past a little bit. I just jumped right into the aphorisms. But maybe that would offer some additional insight, because he was born, they called him the Little Minister, I think, was like his nickname with his family when he was a kid. He was going to become a minister like his father. In his brilliant but relatively brief career, Friedrich Nietzsche published numerous major works of philosophy, including The Twilight of the Idols and Thus Spoke Zarathustra. In the last decade of his life, he suffered from insanity and died on August 25th, 1900. His writings on individuality and morality and contemporary civilization influenced many major thinkers and writers of the 20th century. Well, okay, so I know that he criticized both Judaism and Christianity as being, he had two types of morality, master morality and slave morality. Like he said, there's two different kinds. And he didn't like the slave morality. I'll try to explain that in a minute, I guess. But early years in education. So Friedrich Wilhelm Nietzsche was born October 15th, 1844 in Rockenbay-Lutzen, probably saying stuff wrong, a small village in Prussia, part of present-day Germany. His father, Karl Ludwig Nietzsche, was a Lutheran preacher. He died when Nietzsche was 4 years old. These lecturer people said that he couldn't help but always sort of have a Lutheran flavor to how he talked about God, like, just, I don't know, because he was raised that way. And he talked about the hammer of God, something like that. That's a very Lutheran thing, I guess. Nietzsche and his younger sister Elizabeth were raised by their mother Franziska. Elizabeth, yes, we'll talk about her. Nietzsche attended a private preparatory school in Naumburg and then received a classical education at the prestigious Soltforta School. After graduating in 1864, he attended the University of Bonn for 2 semesters, Bonn. He transferred to the University of Leipzig, where he studied philology. They say that instead of philosophy. Kind of weird. A combination of Oh, and you know what else regarding Sky Daddy? Like, yeah, I guess he was technically an atheist. I don't know. Atheist like makes you think of bad things. I like Nietzsche, so I don't know. Schopenhauer was too, but he felt like it was tyrannical. There's a quote he had about avoiding, what did he call it? Got it somewhere. It's like, I think it has the word training in it. He said it like, not fake, training. Where is that? Where is it? Oh, there is no training of the feelings to severity and vigor. The sheep, he was criticizing Christianity, saying there is no training of the feelings to severity and vigor. I don't really know. I mean, like, it was like if you're purposely avoiding sin, like, it's like the question of if you need to learn from your mistakes or go for it, or like, he was like more into the self, the higher man. He was looking for the higher man, the Übermensch, which lecturer people were very quick to point out that they say that the Nazis liked him. The Nazis liked Nietzsche. The National Socialists, they liked him. But, anything you look up is quick to be like trying to defend him from that, I guess. I have a picture. Maybe I should share it. Where is it? How do I do this? Do I have it open? I'll try to be quick about this and not mess it up. Dang it. I know I have to open somewhere. What the heck? I don't know. I had these tabs open that were pictures. Crap. It was just like a picture of Hitler next to his bust, a bust of Nietzsche, and Hitler met his sister at one point. She's the one, Elizabeth, that I mentioned earlier. She's the one that took care of him when he got sick. I guess it's kind of controversial to say what he died of. Some people argue, they say syphilis because it's like it turns into a brain disease, and he started having dementia, and was basically insane for the last little while of his life. Where the heck is that? I swear I had these pictures open and I've lost them. Maybe it's better that way. I don't know. No, let's just do it. Okay. There it is. Sorry about that. But anyway, people are, I guess, like these lecturers went through a bunch of rumors. I might be able to just look at this, but they were talking about rumors about Nietzsche because there's a lot. And, like, I guess he wouldn't have liked, he wasn't big on nationalism and he wasn't big on socialism. So, it's like, some people say they sort of co-opted, but I'm like, well, you are who you love, not who loves you, I guess. If they liked him, they liked him. But there he is. Okay, I'll share it. Hold on, I got one more. Sorry. One more pic. All right. I can see that. God. Okay. Okay, so there's his sister Elizabeth meeting Adolf and other people. So I think this is like either after Nietzsche died or possibly while she was taking care of him. No, it must have been long after he was dead. Because for one thing, National Socialism didn't become a thing until around like 1933. So Nietzsche was not like around during that same time. But yeah, anyway, that is his sister meeting him. And there's another one. And then here's his pic looking at this bust, this Nietzsche bust. So anyway, they liked him. I thought of that because of the Übermensch, the super soldier, but that's not really what the Übermensch was. The Übermensch is inspired by something called like the Overman. Oh, sorry, I didn't see your comment. Al Capone died of syphilis as well. Same symptoms at the end of life. He was regarded as a mental 7-year-old. Huh. Interesting. I mean, so I was watching a video just before I started where the guy just sort of matter-of-factly stated that Nietzsche, get that off my screen, that Nietzsche contracted it from a prostitute, but then these lecturer people said he probably actually got it from his father. So I should go back to his childhood. His father died when Nietzsche was a kid, and that was hard for him, very difficult for him. And he went to the little church where his father, used to preach or whatever, minister, Lutheran. And he was sad, and the bell, he said something poetic about the bells that day. And yeah, because his father got like a brain disease and died. So it might have been inherited, and not inherited. It might have been like, well, yeah, like it might not have come from sex. That's what I'm trying to say. So this was just from some like low budget movie called Twilight of the Gods that I watched on Amazon. And that's supposed to be Wagner taunting him. You cannot exorcise me because I am a tormenting dream. So great courses people said that he, at one point he was friends with Wagner. I've got an amazing song by Wagner pulled up right now because I searched Twilight of the Gods and I was trying to look for his book because he has a book called that. Nietzsche does, but apparently Wagner also had. So he was inspired by Wagner. Wagner has a song called that, and it's cool. I might play it. So they were friends, right? He was like friends with him and his wife, with Wagner's wife. But they had some sort of falling out where he cut him off, and supposedly it was because of his anti-Semitism. So I don't know. But then this little movie made it sound like he was also like just butthurt about not getting enough attention from him or something. Where did I have that pulled up? Let's go back to his childhood. Maybe I should stop sharing for a sec. So it was talking Friedrich Wilhelm. Yeah, died when Nietzsche was 4 years old. Oh, 4, really young. Huh. And he remembers. I mean, he must remember that. Okay, and then he goes to school. He was strongly influenced by the writings of philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer. He's a big bummer. Schopenhauer is kind of a bummer. He's like disengaged from life, just try to get through it with as little pain as possible. Like, I understand that. I can sort of, understand that. But I guess Nietzsche thought he was like these people that he's influenced by and looks up to. He also later sort of starts criticizing them and stuff. So maybe it's a compliment to be criticized by him. Maybe it means he's once respected you enough to pay attention to stuff, and then he starts, it's kind of a hipster. He's like, no, like I don't know. He's just like a contrarian kind of sometimes, kind of an edgy boy. During his time in Leipzig, he began a friendship with the composer Richard Wagner, whose music he greatly admired. Teaching and writing in the 1870s. In 1869, Nietzsche took a position as a professor of classical philology. At the University of Basel, Switzerland. During his professorship, he published his first books, The Birth of Tragedy. Yeah, he's really obsessed with Greek tragedy, liked it a lot. And Human, All Too Human, 1878. He also began to distance himself from classical scholarships as well as the teachings of Schopenhauer and to take more interest in the values underlying modern-day civilization. By this time, his friendship with Wagner had deteriorated. Suffering from a nervous disorder, he resigned from his post at Basel in 1879. Literary and philosophical work of the 1880s. For much of the following decade, Nietzsche lived in seclusion, moving from Switzerland to France to Italy when he was not staying at his mother's house in Naumburg. He was raised by women. He had two sisters. I think he had an older brother. Or was it? No, it was a younger brother that died young too, I think. So then he just had like a couple sisters and his mom because his dad was dead. However, this was also a highly productive period for him as a thinker and writer. One of his most significant works, Thus Spoke Zarathustra, was published in 4 volumes between 1883 and 1885. He also wrote Beyond Good and Evil, published in 1886, The Genealogy of Morals, 1887, and Twilight of the Idols, 1889. I kind of want to play that song. But in these works of the 1880s, Nietzsche developed the central points of his philosophy. One of these was his famous statement that God is dead, a rejection of Christianity as a meaningful force in contemporary life. Because it was the madman in the story. The madman runs into the town and he's like, God is dead. And they're like, yeah, we know. I don't know. A rejection of Christianity as a meaningful force. Well, yeah. He also was saying like, it's a problem because we need a myth. We need it. Like we need something to believe in. There's a lot of different interpretations of what he meant by that. Others were his endorsement of self-perfection through creative drive and a will to power, and his concept of a superman or an overman, Übermensch, an individual who strives to exist beyond conventional categories of good and evil, master and slave. Yeah, and then there's also something he called the last man, which is like a fat, sort of lazy couch potato who's very comfortable and sort of makes me think of, current era a little bit. It's like the opposite of the Übermensch. It's like you don't want to strive for that painless, comfortable couch potato life. Later years and death. Nietzsche suffered a collapse in 1889 while living in Turin, Italy. The last decade of his life was spent in a state of mental incapacitation. The reason for his sanity is still unknown, although historians have attributed it to causes as varied as syphilis, an inherited brain disease. It did syphilis, an inherited brain disease. I don't know if it's saying anyway. A tumor and overuse of sedative drugs. He didn't have the greatest health. He was sick, particularly there was one period of time he was like horribly sick. He's like in bed a lot, and it kept happening. It was like a couple weeks, bedridden I forget how many days, every so often. After a stay in an asylum, Nietzsche was cared for by his mother in Naumburg and his sister in Weimar, Germany. He died in Weimar on August 25th, 1900. Legacy and influence. Yeah, I'll talk about it later. Nietzsche is regarded as a major influence on 20th century philosophy, theology, and art. His ideas on individuality, morality, and the meaning of existence contributed to the thinking of philosophers Martin Heidegger, Jacques Derrida, and Michael Foucault. Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud, 2 of the founding figures of psychiatry, and writers such as Albert Camus, Jean-Paul Sartre, I don't know how to speak French, Thomas Mann, and Hermann Hesse. Less beneficially, certain aspects of Nietzsche's work were used by the Nazi Party of the 1930s and 40s as justification for its activities. The selective and misleading use of his work has somewhat darkened his reputation for later audiences. I think take it easy, all right? I don't know. Maybe we should watch a little bit of this video, maybe? Share. Just because. Okay.
Nietzsche was born on October 15th, 1844.
Oh, I think I sped it up. 1.5. Is that okay? Do you mind?
In the small Prussian municipality of Roggen. Upon his birth, it was only natural for his father to choose the name Friedrich, for this particular day was the birthday of the reigning Prussian king, Frederick William IV. The family was devoutly Lutheran, the father a working minister, while the mother tended to the house and children, instilling within them all the values consistent with a Christian upbringing. From a young age, it wasn't uncommon to find Friedrich secluded, situated between the covers of the Holy Bible. It was not without cause that he was referred to by the other children as the little minister. Following the death of his father of an apparent brain ailment when Friedrich was only 5, the mother moved her family approximately 30 kilometers away to Naumburg. While here, Nietzsche attended a private preparatory school named the Domgymnasium. From here, he would pass on to Schulpforta, Germany's leading Protestant boarding school. 1864 would bring his graduation, wherein he would choose to continue his education at the University of Bonn, studying theology and classical philology. Shortly after beginning life at university, Nietzsche would abandon the faith which once constituted the very essence of his life. From his own account, he took the transition without notice, though something hints of deception here. He writes to his sister, "If you wish to strive for peace of soul and pleasure, then believe. If you wish to be a devotee of truth, then inquire." It would also be around this time that he would discover Schopenhauer's The World as What.
I just wanted to say, whoops. That was another reason he was kind of against religion. Was like he was into truth. He also says truth is a woman and needs to be wooed and not forced. I don't know if he actually said it needs to be wooed. That was the lecturer people, but he said it's like a woman and shouldn't be forced or something like that. It's elusive and can't be forced. Anyway, wanting to honor his respect for and search for truth. Sorry, I do this too much. He couldn't do that with the religion stuff anymore. Okay, back to the video.
Will an idea, finding within it a mirror in which I spied the world, life, and my own nature depicted with frightful grandeur. He said, it seemed as if Schopenhauer were addressing me personally. Perhaps this was Nietzsche's attempt at filling the void which the loss of his faith had left behind. The years at Bonn did not amount to much, owing to frequent disagreements with the two leading professors charged with his education. In 1865, he decided it would be best if he transferred to the University of Leipzig, a bold move, but one that paid its dividends. Here, his intellect would become apparent, even gaining the honor of being the only student to ever publish in Professor Ritschl's journal, the Rhenish Museum. His Antipodes, a professor of classical philology, when he met the composer Richard Wagner and his then mistress Cosima. He had been an admirer of Wagner's for some time at the point of their first encounter. He would often compare him to Aeschylus, restoring myths and symbols and uniting music and drama once again. A courteous friendship evolved, and throughout the years which they would stay at Tribschen, Nietzsche visited them often, even spending Christmas there in 1869.
Yes, they were great friends. And he... Shit, what was I just about to say? Oh my God. Oh, okay. There was this woman he met at some point. Hold on. God damn, that's not what I was going to say. Oh, something about art. Yeah. He felt like art wasn't music. Art such as music could be like, I don't know if he called it a mistake or no. Something to make life worthwhile, basically. Because like I said, he was searching for a reason to be optimistic all the time because he seemed kind of depressed, honestly. But people always said like he was, just in general, a nice person. He wouldn't like being called nice, but he was a nice person, polite. But he like talked a lot of crap. He doesn't like pity. Like he thinks almost everything is like someone trying to assert their power. I don't know. Maybe I should get more into like his philosophy or something. Let me look. The will to power. Like even sympathy and pity and compassion, he would say that was like someone trying to assert their power. How long has this been? We're almost to 30 minutes. Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of hard to do this. I listened to the audiobook for Thus Spoke Zarathustra. That's a little different than most of his other books. It's like a story, almost like poetry. It's not just philosophy. It's like a story. And so who is Zarathustra? I didn't know who that was, so I had to figure it out. But also known as Nietzsche's moral and political philosophy. Maybe I should go on there. Oh, wait, hold on. So, since I mentioned him, Zarathustra, also known as Zoroaster, was the Persian person. Oh, it says Indian here. I thought he was Persian. Oh, no. It's an Indian perception of Zoroaster, aka Zarathustra. He was a prophet, possibly the first philosopher. Created Zoroastrianism, I guess, the spiritual founder of Zoroastrianism, what people call the first monotheistic religion. But really, it was like these nomads were, take that out so I'm not yelling, harassing, after they started settling down and staying in one spot and not being nomads, the people that were still doing the nomading kept fucking with them and, I guess attacking and robbing them. So he was saying, instead of, because back then it was like, oh, whoever's winning, their god is the strongest or something. And I guess they would sort of worship those gods too. Like, and he was like, don't worship the gods of the people who keep fucking with us. We need to worship just this one god. And it's called Mazda. Something Mazda. Where is that? Hold on. Ahura Mazda, yeah, supreme deity of Zoroastrianism. Kind of interesting. It kind of reminds me of, it's like acknowledging other gods, but saying like, now there's only one, it's kind of funny. Like Christianity kind of does that too. Because it's like, don't worship any gods before me. It's like, maybe he meant idols. Well, why didn't he say idols then? But anyway, I get the idea of like, we need to worship our own God. And basically kind of deny any others. So yeah, that's Zarathustra. So that book is like a story where Zarathustra is in a cave, almost like the Plato, allegory of the cave. And he comes out to go and basically try to, I don't want to say preach to people, but prophesize to people, whatever, philosophize to people. And it's kind of crazy. It's weird. I have maybe I'll get into that later. Crap. I'm going to run out of time, aren't I? Okay, let's just look at this. Nietzsche's moral philosophy is primarily critical in orientation. He's contrarian. He attacks morality both for its commitment to untenable descriptive metaphysical and empirical claims about human agency, as well as for the deleterious impact of its instinctive norms and values on the flourishing of the highest types of human beings, Nietzsche's higher men. His positive ethical views are best understood as combining a kind of consequentialist perfectionism as Nietzsche's implicit theory of the good, with a conception of human perfection involving both formal and substantive elements. Because Nietzsche, he didn't like how worldly became like a negative word in not just Christianity, it was, Judaism too. And he felt like it denied the body. He likes instinct. Because Nietzsche, however, is an anti-realist about value, he takes neither his positive vision nor those aspects of his critique that depend upon it to have any special epistemic status, a fact which helps explain his rhetoric and the circumspect character of his esoteric moralizing. Although Nietzsche's illiberal attitudes, for example, about human equality, he doesn't like equality, doesn't like universalism. Immanuel Kant was sort of a universalist, on morality. He would be like, for instance, like, why shouldn't we steal? It's like, well, what if everybody stole? So like sort of a universalism, like then nobody could sell anything because everyone would steal everything. So, but anyway, he criticized that universalism because he was into like the exceptional, people being excellence. A fact which helps explain his rhetoric. Okay, Nietzsche's illiberal attitudes are apparent. There are no grounds for ascribing to him a political philosophy, since he has no systematic or even partly systematic views about the nature of state and society. Okay. As an esoteric moralist, Nietzsche aims at freeing higher human beings from their false consciousness about morality, their false belief that this morality is good for them, not at a transformation of society at large. He also thinks guilt, I think he's the one who said guilt, and yeah, like guilt is sort of like neurotic to hold on to or something. I don't know. He wasn't a big fan of like, and you know, Christianity, you have, what's it called? Original sin. And it uses guilt. He felt like it used guilt. Creates the problem of guilt only to also solve the problem of guilt. The critique of morality. Morality in the pejorative sense. Nietzsche is not a critic of all morality. He explicitly embraces, for example, the idea of a higher morality which would inform the lives of higher men. Archie, I wish you would come here. He's ignoring me. And in so doing, he employs the same German word, moral, sometimes moralit, I'm not going to say it, for both what he attacks and what he praises. Moreover, Nietzsche aims to offer a reevaluation of existing values in a manner that appears itself to involve appeal to broadly moral standards of some sort. As he writes in the preface to Daybreak in this book, faith in morality, moral, is withdrawn. But why? Out of morality, or what else should we call that which informs it and us? Okay, I'm bored. Should we go back to the aphorisms? That every will must consider every other will its equal would be a principle hostile to life, an agent of the dissolution and destruction of man, an attempt to assassinate the future of man, a sign of weariness, a secret path to nothingness. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. So that was just one about not being into equality. I'm going back to my notes. Maybe I should go to the top. Whatever, these are going to be all weird like they always are. Both benevolence and cruelty are assertions of power. People who love animals are masking a hatred of humans. There's a Schopenhauer quote. Maybe he was just trying to argue with that, because Schopenhauer was like someone who could be cruel to an animal, like, I can't remember, but I have it pulled up somewhere. I'm sorry. He was talking crap on people incapable of being moral or something like that if someone hurts animals. Kind of agree with that. That was Schopenhauer. Anyway, but Nietzsche said they're masking a hatred of humans, maybe. Oh yeah, here it is. Christianity is a slave morality. Nietzsche hated both socialism and democracy. He was obsessed with the Greeks, the birth of tragedy. That was the name of one of his books. He despises Hegel. Hegel. I've got him pulled up too. I'm going to run out of time, huh? The Passionate, a.k.a. the Dionysian. Well, I didn't add anything there, but maybe I should have. He wrote an autobiography called Ecce Homo. I'm probably saying that wrong. Has a chapter called Why I Am So Wise. Nietzsche was mentally ill the last 10 years of his life, but he's not crazy. He's bombastic and writes in hyperbole. Taken to a brothel as a young man and spent his time there playing the piano. Really random. I'm just going through my notes. He's not antagonistic towards Jesus himself, but more critical of Christendom. I already said that. Oh, this was from when I was listening to the Great Courses. Doesn't hate women, it says. It was trying to set the rumors straight. He's not anti-Semitic. He talks about Jews, and not all characterizations are complimentary. But yeah. And he would attack anti-Semites of his era. He doesn't separate Christianity from the Jewish tradition. It says the Nazi Party didn't come into existence until 1919. He's not a Nazi. National Socialist. Hitler came to power in 1933. Nietzsche was dead by 1900. Out of his mind by 1889. He hated his brother-in-law. Okay, so his sister Elizabeth married what they described as a proto-Nazi, or proto-National Socialist. So she edited a lot of his work, and kind of like some of it might have just been her writing. So she might be the explanation for him being like embraced by them and maybe misinterpreted. So yeah, she married what they called a proto-national socialist, and he like stopped communicating with her. But later he needed her to take care of him, and she did, which was nice of her. At one point, he was really interested in this woman named Lou, and according to the Great Courses, his sister Elizabeth like kind of got in the way of that, tried to discourage Lou from getting with him, and he liked Lou a lot. She was a woman who I have a picture of her. I have a picture somewhere. She didn't want to be a traditional woman. She didn't want to get married and have sort of a so he kind of went after the wrong person to propose to, because he did propose to her and she said no. I believe he proposed to her multiple times. Here she is. This is her and him there's Nietzsche on the right and his friend, and Lou on the left here. They were the three amigos. They hung out a lot, I guess, for a minute, and he might have gone on a couple of actual dates with her. But anyway, she kept saying no, she wasn't into it. In fact, one of the documentaries I watched said that she suggested the three of them have a threesome. I don't think he said yes to that, but shortly after that, she took off with guy in the middle. So that was really upsetting for him. And I think he sort of withdrew from society after that. He has a cool quote that I like, but it was written before he got depressed from that. But still, it's a good quote. It has the word forgiveness in it. Forgive. Where is that? Here it is. I just like this quote. And so onwards along a path of wisdom with a hearty tread, a hearty confidence, however you may be your own source of experience. Throw off your discontent about your nature. Forgive yourself, your own self. You have it in your power to merge everything you have lived through, false starts, errors, delusions, passions, your loves, and your hopes, into your goal with nothing left over. Cool quote. I mean, I think, is that from Friedrich Nietzsche? Human, all too human, a book for free spirits. Oh yeah, here's, in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, the person who killed God is called the ugliest man. I'm just skipping all around. I don't know. Should we look at more pictures? Right. This is after he was, mentally kind of gone. It's sad. He just, I guess, sat there. Beyond Good and Evil. I read that book a long time ago. Here he is a little younger. I had a picture of him as a kid, and there it is. He looks kind of funny. What's he doing? Isn't that like a Freemason thing? The hand. I don't know if I'm right about that. Maybe it's just a pose. But he just looks, it's just funny. He was very serious already, it looks like. Very serious, contemplative man. Here's some more aphorisms. My formula for greatness in a human being is amor fati, that one wants nothing to be different, not forward, not backward, not in all eternity. There's always some madness in love, but there's also always some reason in madness. So the thing where he said, when he was criticizing pity or sympathy, he was like, I don't know, suggesting that people hide from the truth by claiming that they're actually having some sort of bolder, I don't know, pity. You could use pity to be, I don't hate you, I feel bad for you. You're still trying to assert your superiority over someone. I don't know. That's just one way of looking at it, I guess. But it's just interesting that he was so anti-pity because, Christianity is a lot about pity and sympathy or compassion, I guess. But one of the last things, before he got, taken in and taken to his family to take care of him, he was discovered in a state of madness, I guess, sobbing uncontrollably. He saw a horse in the street of Turin, Turin, being beaten by its rider. The horse had fallen down in the street and was being beaten by the guy. And he started crying. He like ran over to the horse yelling, I understand you. I understand you. And sobbing and like throws his arms around the horse and it's like crying uncontrollably and hugging the horse. So he was showing sympathy, you know, it's just kind of interesting, you know, for someone who talked against sympathy so much. Ultimately, it is the desire, not the desired, that we love. Yeah, he said there's some other quote too that I sort of like. He was talking about, you know, you have love with someone, but slowly but surely, your inner tyrant starts demanding that you sacrifice that love to him. You know, I kind of understand that. It's like, I don't know. I don't really know what else to say about that. I just thought that was an interesting quote. Aesthetic ideals reveal so many bridges to independence that a philosopher is bound to rejoice and clap his hands when he hears the story of all the resolute men who one day said no to all servitude and went into some desert. Yeah, he's got a lot of opinions about love. Whoever does not have 2/3 of his day for himself is a slave, whatever he may be. Well, shit, 2/3 of his day, whatever he may be, a statesman, a businessman, an official, or a scholar. We often contradict an opinion for no other reason than that we do not like the tone in which it is expressed. They muddy the water to make it seem deep. Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. There's more wisdom in your body than in your deepest philosophy. Yeah, he's into something about the body. Most people are far too much occupied with themselves to be malicious. He who humbleth himself wants to be exalted. In the end, things must be as they are and have always been. The great things remain for the great, the abysses for the profound, the delicacies and thrills for the refined, and to sum up shortly, everything rare for the rare. A joke is an epigram on the death of a feeling. Forgetting our intentions is the most frequent of all acts of stupidity. Oh, that reminds me of another one I like. I have done that, says my memory. I have not done that, says my pride. And eventually, my memory yields. If a man has a great deal to put in them, a day will have 100 pockets. People are always angry at anyone who chooses very individual standards for his life. Because of the extraordinary treatment which that man grants to himself, they feel degraded like ordinary beings. Yeah, he wasn't into individualism. He was. The first opinion that occurs to us when we are suddenly asked about a matter is usually not our own, but only the customary one appropriate to our caste, position, or parentage. Our own opinions seldom swim near the surface. Truth tends to reveal its highest wisdom in the guise of simplicity. A strong and well-constituted man digests his experiences, deeds and misdeeds, all included, just as he digests his meats, even when he has some tough morsels to swallow. I need to go to the bathroom, so hopefully I can play maybe a little bit of that Wagner song while I do that. Where did I put it? There it is. I like it. Hold on. I'm going to mute myself. can't play the whole thing. It's like 10 minutes long. But the best part is around neighbors are being loud. It's like 5 minutes in. All right. Okay, we can't play the whole thing. Anyway, that was some Wagner, Twilight of the Gods. Awesome, it says here. He also did Ride of the Valkyries. You know that one? It's a famous one. Wagner kicked ass. I just wanted to mention that. What else we got? Okay, so running out of time. There's something called the eternal, well, it says return here, but it's the eternal recurrence. It's a concept. He didn't come up with it or anything, but I don't like it. I don't really like it, but this video helped me understand it a little better. You're welcome. So this is just like this concept that your life repeats over and over again. Nothing is done differently. I don't like that idea, but apparently you're supposed to interpret that in a way that makes you live your life the first time the way you want to. Be who you're meant to be. Become who you are. So that then I kind of understand it, but it's like, well, I've already lived quite a bit of it, and I don't want to do most of that ever again. But you know, I guess it's not so bad if you have like a happy life, an enjoyable happy life. But yeah, it's supposed to make you make that decision where you're like, I guess I just play the video, but if I pretend that this is the second go around, only this time you're going to make the correct choices that you wish you had. Something like that. Okay, let's push play.
The question in Each and Everything. Do you want this again and innumerable times again? Announces Nietzsche in The Gay Science. What does this mean?
He has a book called The Gay Science. He means it, in a different way.
Exactly. Nietzsche's push for a reevaluation of values.
Joyful.
was one of the central ideas of his philosophy. Instead of taking things that we deem good or right as is, such as treating your neighbor with kindness or being humble, he took on the role of an archaeologist and attempted to dig up the histories that led us into thinking these actions and moral laws were right to begin with. Of course, such an undertaking soon reveals that our moral laws weren't given in some sort of absolute or universal manner. This is, of course, disturbing, to imagine that the ethics of one's world could have been otherwise. Where do we...
He said that the slave morality is like, tells you things not to do, don't hurt anyone, don't do these things. And it's like morality with a small m. No, morality with a big M is when it's being like a tyrant, is commanding you to do these things. He doesn't like that either. What was my point? Small m. Things not to do. He's saying that he doesn't love that because it's like, you're not being excellent. You're just trying not to do all these things and not to do wrong, bad things, which that's kind of how that's all I really try to do at this point, kind of. I mean, I guess I could try to be more excellent.
We go from here, with nowhere to turn to point us towards the right
Exceptional.
decision. Of course, we can't just throw away history entirely. We need history, inasmuch as the past wells up in us in hundreds of ways. Indeed, we ourselves are nothing other than what we sense at each instant of that onward flow, writes Nietzsche. In a sense, we are always and forever carried by the momentum of that which came before. John Keg, author of Hiking with Nietzsche, describes a pyramidal stone in the Swiss Alps that Nietzsche refers to in his work. Is this
hold on.
for the idea of eternal recurrence?
Crap. Too fast. Yeah. While hiking in the Swiss Alps, we'll go to 1.25. Did you just see it? Hold on. Let's go back. There it is. It's like a pyramidal stone that for some reason when he came across it, it made him like understand eternal recurrence or something.
Recurrence, the highest formula of affirmation, was conceived. So,
like if a demon, I'll just let it play.
What is this highest formula? It's terrifying and brilliant all at once. Nietzsche asks you to imagine a moment when you are completely and entirely alone. At this moment, a demon appears and announces that the life you are currently living and will continue to live will reoccur again and again and again. Everything good and bad that has happened to you, every kiss and every heartbreak, every moment of dread and sublimity, will be experienced infinitely. For many of us, this would suck. A lot. Schopenhauer even notes that he who lives to see 2 or 3 generations is like a man who sits sometime in a conjurer's booth at a fair and witnesses the performance twice or thrice in succession. The tricks were meant to be seen only once, and when they are no longer novelty and cease to deceive, their effect is gone. Certainly living the same life over and over would be boring, and likely uncomfortable. However, Keg rightfully observes that such a what-if scenario is to be taken as a challenge, or better, a question, that is to be answered not in words, but in the course of life. Suddenly every action would become meaningful and heavy. Such a way of life requires one to be well-adjusted, as in, to choose wholeheartedly what we think and where we find and create meaning. If you're going to end up doing the same thing for eternity, you probably want to choose the right thing to do. It should also be noted that the demon comes when you are entirely alone, hence we have no choice in appealing to any institution or person or ideology. Only you can choose what is right in the end. This burden, to weigh one's binding to history against the unique potentials of individual will, is arguably that which marks our existence with value. Nietzsche also states that in order to master this form of living, one must learn to love even the most uncertain and undesirable conditions of life. Through embracing suffering, we become the captains of our being. Before fate strikes us, we should guide it. This complex interplay of the past and future as one and the same interrogates us at each moment, asking why we continue to sell away our precious time to mediocrity and conformity. Perhaps the words of Viktor Frankl illuminate this best. Live as if you were living already for the second time, and as if you had acted the first time as wrongly as you are about to act now. It seems to me that there is nothing which would stimulate a man's sense of responsibleness more than this maxim, which invites him to imagine first that the present is past, and second, that the past may yet be changed and amended.
It reminds me of as if free will. Like, even if you don't believe in free will, Nietzsche, by the way, thought that Christianity sort of took away. He really criticized Christianity, but also Judaism. So it's funny. Like, I mean, like these lecturers were like, he's not anti-Semitic because he criticizes Christianity too. They're like, don't worry, he shits on Christianity too. It's okay. Whew. I was worried for a minute that he was only criticizing Judaism. Don't worry. It's all right. Okay, so I already talked about him hugging the horse. Eternal return. What else? What else? I gotta go back up to where I was. I don't want to just ignore all my notes. Okay, Greek tragedy. We are all one. Tragedy brings moral insight, something to learn, makes tragedy less tragic. Love life, despite suffering. And then I just wrote Dionysian. Again, I don't know much about Dionysus. Is that what you say? Pessimism. Schopenhauer, the first honest German atheist. Okay. If you are virtuous, you will be happy, Socrates says. He criticized Socrates. He called him ugly. So, speaking of ugly, the person who killed God and thus spoke Zarathustra was the ugliest man. Find that. Running out of time. Where is it? Zarathustra keeps searching for the one who has been crying in distress. This is from the book. He enters a deathly kingdom without grass, trees, or birds, only an old ugly serpent. The snake seems familiar to him. At last, Zarathustra sees a man-like figure sitting on the path, and is so ashamed of its apparent... Okay, that's not good proper grammar. So ashamed of its appearance that he turns to leave. Oh, he is ashamed of the man's appearance, so he turns to leave. However, the figure speaks, asking Zarathustra to solve the mystery of his identity. Briefly overcome by pity, Zarathustra tells this ugliest man that he is the murderer of God. Yeah, something about how he didn't like God looking at him, so he killed him. I don't know. It's interesting, but I don't necessarily know how to articulate what that's supposed to mean. He just does words good, you know? He does words good. Talks about love. Oh, platonic love. Someone loves another person as another way of loving God. Nietzsche rejects this. So platonic, like, instead of just meaning like love without sex, which is what has sort of come to mean, it's actually supposed to be like the idea of loving another person as a way of loving God, like I just said. Says Übermensch, aka Overman, may have come from the Oversoul from Emerson. And then Zarathustra, regarded as the spiritual founder of Zoroastrianism, he is said to have been an Iranian prophet who founded a religious movement that challenged the existing traditions of ancient Iranian religion, and inaugurated a movement that eventually became a staple religion in ancient Iran. Oh, damn it. He was a native speaker of Old Avestan and lived in the eastern part of the Iranian plateau, but his exact birthplace is uncertain. There is no scholarly consensus on when he lived. Some scholars, using linguistic and socio-cultural evidence, suggest a dating to somewhere in the 2nd millennium BC. Other scholars date him to the 7th and 6th centuries BC as a near contemporary of Cyrus the Great and Darius the Great. Zoroastrianism eventually became the official state religion of ancient Iran, particularly during the era of the Achaemenid Empire and its distant subdivisions from around the 6th century BC until the 7th century AD, when the religion itself began to decline following the Arab Muslim conquest of Iran. Zoroaster is credited with the authorship of the Gathas as well as the Yasna Haptamgadi, a series of hymns composed in his native Avestan dialect that comprise the core of Zoroastrian thinking. I've never read those. I would like to. I don't know if I have time tonight to do that, but little is known about Zoroaster. Most of his life is known only from these scant texts. By any modern standard of historiography, no evidence can place him into a fixed period, and the historicization surrounding him may be a part of a trend from before the 10th century AD that historicizes legends and myths. Okay, anyway, that was just about him, about that guy. Oh, where did I stop? What did I stop? It was right there. Oh, yeah, I don't know if I even want to get into it. Just like with every historical figure, there's people saying he was gay. He probably wasn't, though. Oh, this is another part from Zarathustra. Thus spoke Zarathustra. Among the group of higher men whom Zarathustra finds in the forest and invites into his cave, the ugliest man is the murderer of God. He killed God because God pitied his misfortunes, prompting the man to resentment and revenge. In Zarathustra's view, the ugliest man is one of the most promising of the higher men, as he's in the process of overcoming himself and being reconciled to the eternal recurrence. Here's just one of his aphorisms. The thought of suicide is a great consolation. By means of it, one gets through many a dark night. Don't put that. I hope that YouTube doesn't put like that warning on my video just because I mentioned that. They did that on one of my other videos and it made me uncomfortable. They also sent me an email like, are you okay? Are you struggling emotionally? It was stupid. Like just for mentioning it or something. You use a psychological tool to feel superior to people. I don't resent you, I pity you. Or you don't know what it's like to blank. For example, be a woman. Evoke pity for power. You want to make those you resent feel guilt. Christianity puts guilt in you so they can then be the solution to the guilt problem. I wrote, laughter can be abusive. Yeah, I don't know. He was talking about how laughter can be bad or something. I don't know. It was probably a response to some quote about laughter by some other philosopher. And then he's like, well, but what if you're being rude laughing? Or, he just likes to do that. I'll never do that again is a way of trying to lessen what you did by saying it won't happen again in the future. And I think he was saying Christianity kind of does this. Yeah, it's like a lot of it. He thinks Socrates hates life, that he's like obsessed with like another realm, another world, a future, something not here and now. So that's sort of, one of his criticisms. Saying you hate someone instead of admitting you envy them. Nietzsche on love. Love is an animal instinct. I don't know if I just copied and pasted this whole article here. I don't know if I feel like getting into that. Sexual prejudice. The way in which... so they say he's sexist, whatever. He lived in the 1800s, but I just think it's funny that one of his quotes is that women who have intellectual pursuits probably have something wrong with them sexually. I don't take it too seriously. It's just funny. The way in which the instincts express themselves differently in the sexes is discussed by Nietzsche unapologetically in aphorism 363 called How Each Sex Has Its Own Prejudice About Love. In this section, Nietzsche asserts that men and women do not have equal rights in love because their understanding of love differs. They do not have synonymous expectations about the opposite sex and the experiences of love they will share with the other. Nietzsche pointedly distinguishes masculine from feminine love by the notions of devotion and fidelity, whereas women want to surrender completely to love, to approach it as a faith, to be taken and accepted as a possession. Nietzsche claims male love hinges upon the possessive thirst to acquire more from the lover and states that men who are inclined towards complete devotion are not men. He proposes that a man who loves like a woman becomes a slave, while a woman who loves like a woman becomes a more perfect woman. Nietzsche claims that fidelity can become an attribute of male love over time due to, for example, gratitude or a specific taste, but that it is not an essential masculine quality. That's Lou. Lou Salome, Andrea Salome. That's the woman he liked. It appears from these statements that Nietzsche believes that biological differences between the sexes correlate with oppositional gender roles in love relationships. This conclusion seems perplexing in light of one of the broader goals of the gay science specified in the preface to undermine the presumed distinctions between traditional opposites. Perhaps the question to ask here is, can Nietzsche approach the problem of gender with the critical distance he advocates as crucial to his project of doing gay science? Or I can't laugh. Or is it an exception for him? I don't understand that sentence. We need only glance at the rest of aphorism 363 to find more evidence for this concern. There Nietzsche writes, woman gives herself away, man acquires more. I do not see how one can get around this natural opposition by means of social contracts with the best will in the world to be just, desirable as it may be, not to remind oneself constantly how harsh, terrible, enigmatic, and immoral the antagonism is. For love, though of in its entirety as great and full is nature, and being nature, it is in all eternity something immoral. What? I don't know. Nietzsche's sex education? Nietzsche states that both men and women need to be educated better in regards to the nature of the relationship between men and women, for it is man who creates for himself the image of woman, and woman forms herself according to this image. And although Nietzsche is confident that some women can turn against and even destroy this image, he continues to offer sympathy for the fact that women are in many respects subjected. I just remembered something. He called women short-legged, broad-hipped. What was shit? It was funny. Short-legged, broad-hipped, undersized. He called them a short-legged, broad-hipped, undersized race. I just thought that was funny. Okay, back to it. Okay. I don't know. I just stop in the middle of sentences. It's fine. On female chastity, Nietzsche comments on the lack of sexual education, particularly of upper-class women. Maybe back then, you know? I don't know. Okay. Plato desexualized love. Eros is pretty sexual. Agape, less sexual. Christian love, more about brotherhood, and the love of pure souls, not sexual at all, which Nietzsche didn't care for. Love robs you of your independent identity. Okay. Platonic love wasn't just love without... I already said that. Yeah, his friend Ray and Lou, the woman he liked, left together and ditched him. Truth, like a woman, may want to be wooed. He fell off a horse in school at one point, so there was another horse story earlier in his life where he got hurt, and I guess, yeah, he had pains, migraines, digestive problems, and insomnia. I don't know. Oh, shit. We're an hour and 13 in. What is nihilism? He's not a nihilist. Some people try to say he is, but he's not. He rejected values, but he didn't, I don't know, reject all values. He was into something called the transvaluation of values, something like that. But anyway, what is nihilism? A viewpoint that traditional values and beliefs are unfounded and that existence is senseless and useless. Example, nihilism is a condition in which all ultimate values lose their value. A doctrine that, I think that's dumb, personally. It's just... A doctrine that denies any objective ground of truth and especially of moral truths. A doctrine or belief that conditions in the social organization are so bad as to make destruction desirable for its own sake, independent of any constructive program or possibility. Lame. The program of a 19th century Russian party advocating revolution, reform, and using terrorism and assassination. Okay, well, that's another definition, apparently. Skepticism as to the value of a drug or method of treatment. Oh, okay. Huh? I don't know. Aestheticism. I just put some definitions down because these words kept getting used. Aestheticism, the approach to art exemplified by, but not restricted to, the aesthetic movement. Art for art's sake. Celebrating beauty is free of moral or utilitarian considerations. And then I had to look up utilitarianism. In ethical philosophy, utilitarianism is a family of normal ethical theories that prescribe actions that maximize happiness and well-being for all affected individuals. Although different varieties of utilitarianism admit different characterizations, the basic idea behind all of them is, in some sense, to maximize utility, which is often defined in terms of well-being or related concepts. For instance, Jeremy Bentham, the founder of utilitarianism, described utility as that property in any object whereby it tends to produce benefit, advantage, pleasure, good, or happiness, or to prevent the happening of mischief, pain, evil, or unhappiness to the party whose interest is considered. Utilitarianism is a version of consequentialism, which states that the consequences of any action are the only standard of right and wrong. That's kind of dumb. Unlike other forms of consequentialism, such as egoism and altruism, utilitarianism considers the interests of all sentient beings equally. Proponents of utilitarianism have disagreed on a number of issues, such as whether actions should be chosen based on their likely results, or whether agents should conform to rules that maximize utility. There is also disagreement as to whether total utility, average utility, or the utility of the people worst off should be maximized. Though the seeds of the theory can be found in the hedonists Aristippus and Epicurus, who viewed happiness as the only good, and in the work of the medieval Indian philosopher Santideva. The tradition of modern utilitarianism began with Jeremy Bentham. Okay, I'm repeating myself. Oh, started in Tsarist Russia. I think I'm talking about nihilism again. Started in Tsarist Russia, youth rejected the authority and values of their parents. It was like a teenage rebellion, rejection of tradition, rejection of an entire culture. And then it said something about how Nietzsche said he wished he could write his books in French. He sort of seems almost like a self-hating German. He rejected the German language. Oh, yeah. What else? Okay, slave master morality. How does Nietzsche explain the origins of society? No. Oh, okay. All higher civilizations, according to Nietzsche, arose from the barbarians who, with their will and desire for power, have preyed upon the weaker moral and peaceful societies. A healthy society does not exist for its own sake, but exists for the sake of a higher type of person. Nietzsche states that a consequence of the will to power is the exploitation of man by man, and this exploitation is the essence of life. What does he mean by this statement? Is exploitation a basic biological function of living things? For Nietzsche, the will to power is the dominant principle of organic function. Without the will to power, exploiting the sentimental weaknesses of equality among people, society can develop. The will to power is the will to life. I believe Schopenhauer was more into saying will to life. And he would talk about that in relation to instinct. Will to life. What does Nietzsche mean when he says that the noble type of man is beyond good and evil and is a creator of values? The overman is not subject to the morality of the lower type of meek and common people who speak of good and evil in terms of equality. Since the noble type of man is the higher type, he is not subject to the morality of the herd. Morality favors mediocrity. Standing beyond good and evil is rising above the herd. So I wonder if that's like the master morality. Explain in some detail the difference. I don't know where I got this, by the way. Differences among the master morality and the slave morality. Are these concepts useful? The two primary types of morality are master morality and slave morality. In higher civilizations and in people, they are mixed. Master morality is a yay-saying attitude where good and bad are equivalent to noble and despicable, respectively. The master creates value. Excellence! Saying yes to life. Remember that stupid Jim Carrey movie? What was that called? Yes, Man? That's a Nietzsche thing. He said we should, I don't know, like, just appreciate life. It wasn't even necessarily about happiness. It was just appreciate it or something like that. Slave morality is a naysaying attitude or herd morality, which holds to the standard of that which is useful or beneficial to the weak or powerless. And he calls Judaism that. He said that they are the creators of slave morality, I believe. The virtues are sympathy, kindness, and humility. Strong and independent individuals are evil. The history of morals is the conflict of these two moral outlooks. The higher type creates his own values out of strength. The meek and powerless begin with resentment. Coexistence is impossible because the herd seeks to impose its values universally. Yeah, and he doesn't like universalism. Now it's talking about vanity. Why is vanity essential to the slave morality? How does it relate to the individual's need for approval? Is Nietzsche asserting that the vanity of an individual is a direct consequence of the individual's own sense of inferiority? For Nietzsche, vanity is the hallmark of the meek and powerless. They cry for a good opinion of themselves, not being able to set their own value. The slave morality is subject to flattery. Such persons know they do not deserve praise, yet they believe it when they are praised by the master, since they have not the abilities to create value. Vanity is a consequence of inferiority. Interesting. Will to power, Nietzsche's central metaphysical idea, disagrees with natural selection and survival of the fittest. The best won't survive, but the dull and banal. Yeah, so this is when, I guess, social Darwinism was sort of a thing, and he didn't like it at the end. Moral relativity. He's sort of into moral relativity, but not really. Like, he doesn't get out of control with it. He's like, I forget. I mean, obviously situations matter and context matters and blah, blah, blah. Thou shalt not kill. Well, what about self-defense? You know, like that kind of thing. Nietzsche rejects the idea of God-given morality. He attacks Kant's universalized morality and believes morality must come from within. Morality isn't based on reason or law or external imposition, but rather inclination, sentiment. And then I put David Hume in parentheses. Life itself. Okay. Nietzsche attacks modernity, both socialism and, I already said that like 5 times. I am my own ideal. Master morality. Transvaluation of values. Don't know what that is. I probably should, but I need to stop. This is, it's getting long. You can't understand the Superman if you don't understand order of rank, will to power, transvaluation of all values. Well, I guess I don't understand the Superman. Should I look it up? What is it? What is this? This is too long. Give it to me quick. No, this is JSTOR. That's going to cost money. Oh. Can anyone explain Nietzsche's transvaluation of values? Think of it like this. We currently have a set of value systems. In our culture, the value system X is considered the best value system to have. People with value systems Y and Z are mocked and thrown in jail, respectively. So we could imagine a world post-transvaluation of values in which people who follow Y are thrown in jail, those who follow X are mocked, and most everyone follows Z. The transvaluation of values is us changing from valuing one value system over the others to valuing another one. Okay. So, okay, he wanted to replace it with something else, I guess. God is dead. We need a new myth. We need something. I don't know. In Nietzsche's view, this has happened at least once, and I would argue twice. In the first instance, the priests and the weak and or the Jews and Christians overturned the values of the masters. Oh, okay. And installed their own values. I would argue that the second instance is what Nietzsche calls the death of God, where the value system based on God-given authority has lost its footing. He just thinks his time period hasn't realized it yet. Philosophers of the future will invent new value systems and create another or finish the second transvaluation of values. All right. Hope it helps. Does that help a little bit? All is empty. All is alike. All hath been. I just wrote that down while I was listening to the Thus Spoke Zarathustra. I'm not going to add any more comment to that. I just thought it was funny or interesting. I'll say it again. All is empty. All is alike. All hath been. There's that quote I liked. Becoming who you really are. Self-overcoming in German was like Selbstüberwindung. Oh, he also says, I'm almost done. Envy isn't so bad. The world is a monster of energy without beginning. The world is a monster of energy. Nope. Let's try again. The world, a monster of energy without being. I can't talk. Let's try it one more time. This world, a monster of energy, without beginning, without end. The world is the will to power, and nothing besides. Jeez, that was hard to spit out. Oh, well, Nietzschean instinct, Nietzsche and passions, Nietzsche and equality. These were just reminders to myself. There is no training of the feeling. He doesn't like punishment. He doesn't like the idea of punishment, beyond good and evil. It was like, if the danger to others has been removed, why do we next need to punish? I can kind of understand that, I suppose. Blessed are the forgetful, for they forget even the better of their blunders. Okay, well, that's all the notes I wrote. And we already watched this one on Eternal Return. Already kind of went through that. Master morality and slave morality. It is otherwise with the second type of morality, slave morality, supposing that the abused, the oppressed, the suffering, the unemancipated, the weary, and those uncertain of themselves should moralize. What will be the common element in their moral estimates? Probably a pessimistic suspicion with regard to the entire situation of man will find expression. Perhaps a condemnation of man, together with his situation. The slave has an unfavorable eye for the virtues of the powerful. He has a skepticism and distrust, a refinement of distrust of everything good that is there honored. He would fain persuade himself that the very happiness there is not genuine. On the other hand, those qualities which serve to alleviate the existence of sufferers are brought into prominence and flooded with light. It is here that sympathy, the kind helping hand, the warm heart, patience, diligence, humility, and friendliness attain to honor. For here, these are the most useful qualities, and almost the only means of supporting the burden of existence. Slave morality is essentially the morality of utility. Here is the seat of the origin of the famous antithesis, good and evil. Power and dangerousness are assumed to reside in the evil, a certain dreadfulness, subtlety, and strength, which do not admit of being despised. Yeah, I think at one point it was saying, like, master morality does not ask itself if what it's doing is correct, really much. I guess. I think so. I think I heard it say that. According to slave morality, therefore, the evil man arouses fear. According to master morality, it is precisely the good man who arouses fear and seeks to arouse it, while the bad man is regarded as the despicable being. The contrast attains its maximum when, in accordance with the logical consequences of slave morality, a shade of depreciation, it may be slight and well-intentioned, at last attaches itself to the good man of this morality, because according to the servile mode of thought, the good man must in any case be the safe man. He is good-natured, easily deceived, perhaps a little stupid. Un bon homme. Everywhere that slave morality gains the ascendancy, language shows a tendency to approximate this. Okay. All right, I'm going to X out of that. Time to start Xing out. This has gone on long enough. I'm trying not to do that. There's Hegel. I don't know. He was a guy. German philosopher. What did he do? German idealism and one of the founding figures of modern Western philosophy. His influence extends across the entire range of contemporary philosophical thought. He lived through and was influenced by the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars. I still would like to do one on Napoleon someday. Eternal Return, we already talked about that. Übermensch. Yeah, we already talked about that too. Übermensch represents a shift from otherworldly Christian values and manifests the grounded human ideal. I kind of want to go through the rest of his... Thanks for your time and efforts. I enjoyed this. A learning session. Yay! You're welcome. Thank you. I'm trying to see if I'm... He who cannot obey himself will be commanded. I don't know. I'm just sort of... I don't want to miss any good ones. He has a good one. He has many good little quotes. I don't know. Maybe not. My formula for happiness: a yes, a no, a straight line, a goal. Okay. I don't understand that. Okay. All in all and on the whole, someday I wish to be only a yes-sayer. Okay. X out. X out. Did I leave anything out? I don't know. Let's call it quits. Let's call it good. Let's stop. I was going to get into Schopenhauer a little bit, but maybe he gets his own someday. Will minus intellect constitutes vulgarity. It is a wise thing to be polite. Consequently, it is a stupid thing to be rude. Oh, this is Schopenhauer. Damn it. Sorry. I pulled up some quotes by Schopenhauer. That's what it is. Yeah, okay. This is where I saw the one about hurting animals. Compassion for animals is intimately associated with goodness of character, and it may be confidently asserted that he who is cruel to animals cannot be a good man. Okay, anyway, I pulled up some of his own little aphorisms too. But we're Xing out. We're Xing out. Immanuel Kant. All right. See ya. Zoroaster. Bye. The Ugliest Man. I already read that. Willpower. Okay, bye. There's his sister. Her name was Elizabeth Forster Nietzsche. Became his guardian and literary executor. So she might have messed with his work a little bit. An early believer in the superiority of the Teutonic races, she married an anti-Semite agitator, Bernard Forster. In the 1880s, they went to Paraguay and founded Nueva Germania, a supposedly pure Aryan colony, but the enterprise failed and Forster committed suicide. Wait, oh, her husband killed himself? Jeez. Amid a major financial scandal, Elizabeth failed to make a national hero of her husband or to salvage the colony as an island of Teutonic Christianity. She next served as Nietzsche's guardian at Weimar after his mental breakdown in 1889. On his death in 1900, she secured the rights to his manuscripts and renamed her family home the Nietzsche Archive. Refusing public access to her brother's works, she edited them without scruple or understanding. While Elizabeth gained a wide audience for her misinterpretation, she withheld Nietzsche's self-interpretation, Ecce Homo, until 1908. Meanwhile, she collected some of his notes under the title The Will to Power and presented this work first as part of her 3-volume biography, then in 1-volume edition. Her distortions of Nietzsche's ideas in his work and others were in large measure responsible for the subsequent misperception of Nietzsche as an early philosopher of fascism. He wasn't political. Elizabeth was a supporter of the Nazi Party. Her funeral in 1935 was attended by Adolf Hitler and other Nazi dignitaries. After her death, scholars re-edited Nietzsche's writings and found some of Elizabeth's versions distorted and spurious. She forged nearly 30 letters and often rewrote passages. Damn, woman, what are you doing? The discovery of her forgeries and of the original text profoundly influenced later interpretations of Nietzsche's philosophy. All right, well, don't be too hard on her. She took care of him, at least. Okay, I don't have time. I gotta X out. We're Xing out. Far-right, misogynist, humorless. Why Nietzsche is so misunderstood by The Guardian. But we're out of time. It's just another article about how he's misunderstood and misinterpreted. We don't have time. Becoming who you really are. Well, but we don't have time. There's that song that we listen to some of. Yeah, I pulled up a bunch of videos explaining different books by him, but I guess you can just read it. Okay, here's an article from Gay and Lesbian Review blog calling him gay. Probably not, though. Another one. Why did I pull up so many of those? Okay, we're done. We're done here. We are done here. Romanticism. Human. All too. Oh, okay. Last one. We'll do this one. The neurological illness of Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche, one of 1844 to 1900, one of the most profound and influential modern philosophers, suffered since his very childhood from severe migraine. At 44, he had a mental breakdown, ending in a dementia with total physical dependence due to stroke. From the very beginning, Nietzsche's dementia was attributed to neurosyphilitic infection. Recently, this tentative diagnosis has become controversial. To use historical accounts and original materials, including correspondence, biographical data and medical papers to document the clinical characteristics of Nietzsche's illness, and by using this pathography to discuss formerly proposed diagnoses and to provide and support a new diagnostic hypothesis. So they're looking at original letters from him, descriptions by relatives and friends, medical descriptions, original German sources, biographical papers. He suffered from migraine without aura. I don't know if that means like without the visual impairment or something. I sometimes get like a headache that messes with my vision a little bit, but I don't always get a headache. Sometimes it is the precursor to a headache, but other times, I'll just like close my eyes and make it go away, but kind of looks like lightning. Could be like triggered by bright light or something. But his was migraine without aura. Started in his childhood. In the second half of his life, he suffered from a psychiatric illness with depression. During his last years, a progressive cognitive decline evolved and ended in a profound dementia with stroke. He died from pneumonia in 1900. The family history includes a possible vascular-related mental illness in his father, who died from a stroke at 36. So we're not totally sure it was syphilis, all right? Friedrich Nietzsche's disease consisted of migraine, psychiatric disturbances, and cognitive decline with dementia and stroke. Despite the prevalent opinion that neurosyphilis caused Nietzsche's illness, there is lack of evidence to support this diagnosis. Cerebral autosomal dominant arteriopathy with subcortical infarcts and leukoencephalopathy accounts for all the signs and symptoms of Nietzsche's illness. I gotta stop. The study adds new elements to the debate and controversy about it. Okay, we got it. We're done. Thank you very much. Have a great night. I hope you do well. Goodbye. Stop sharing. End. Bye.